To keep up with the latest announcements and dtitrader.com/YouTube. Glad to have everybody from the YouTube group joining us this morning. You can go to the live version and figure out what's going on right now. And there are replays available at that channel, so make sure you check those out. Let's go ahead and get into a risk disclaimer here because we're going to be talking about trading, and there is a very high degree of risk involved in trading. You need to make sure that you're doing your own research, make sure that what you're looking at is what you want to be seeing and what you need to be seeing. You and you alone are going to be responsible for the decisions you make as well as the decisions you don't. So keep that in mind, and remember that past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, so what have we got? Some of the news shaping the market. We had the delayed employment news. That was a big event. I don't know if you guys kept track of that, but the employment situation report that came out this morning, it was supposed to come out on Friday, so coming out in sort of an odd time during the week. But a couple of the big highlights, the unemployment rate drops from 4.4% to 4.3%. And the participation rate, told you guys to pay attention to that one, it went up from 62.4 to 62.5%. It's not a big change, but we had the one number go down, the other number go up, and those numbers typically move in line with each other. So this was a big move. We added 172,000 jobs on the private payrolls month to month. That is a huge number beyond expectations. Meanwhile, average hourly earnings increased to 3.7%. So those employment numbers, massive. I mean, this was a big news event. I don't think people understand how big it is. In fact, it's so big that you're going to have some pundits out there saying, yeah, but is it really that good? Well, of course, you're going to have to wait for the next report to figure out if that's something that carries over anytime you get a drastic change. Now, remember that the BLS is sort of the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, sort of dealing with a situation where they still kind of catching up from the last government shutdown. We had another mini one 2 weeks ago, which led to the delay here. And hey, guys, coming up on Friday, uh, DHS funding on the line, and I don't know if they're going to try and do a continuing resolution or what's going on with that, but that is another factor that's affecting this market. There might be a partial government shutdown. So not a full government shutdown, but a partial government shutdown coming up this week. So that's going to be interesting. And then in addition, Friday morning, we've got the CPI number. What do these employment numbers mean for inflation? The CPI number is projected to be coming down, but the talking heads are questioning that. Uh, yeah, the economic analysts say the number is going to be lower than expected, but there are people that doubt that right now. So that would be a huge inflection point Friday morning. So there's a lot going on with the market. And then you get, this market reaction, what's going on. Tom, I did find one thing that might have spooked the market just a little bit. They had to shut down the airspace in New Mexico because apparently there were some what they believed to be drones from Mexican cartels that had flown into the airspace. So the airspace was momentarily shut down. That was a brief event, and that could be, I don't think that's a big economic thing, but if everybody's tensions are a little bit up, might be a little bit of a scare tactic there. Let's
Hey,
go ahead
Chuck.
and hit our next slide where we're going to get to Tom's opinion, and I want to hear your opinion on that. Could that be the news?
Hey, Chuck. The news out of New Mexico was they shut down the El Paso airport for 10 days, but that was last night news. Okay.
Okay,
News
that's
on
old
the
news.
drones might have been an added piece of news, but something might be going on down there. I guess we got to figure out what it is. But a couple things I want to talk about with the market. We went up to 70.10, and I talked to you this morning. I said they're selling it for some reason because that was beyond a news sell off. It wasn't an economic report sell off. because if you look at the bond market, which is what I look at, the numbers, the bonds interest rates have got lower in the real world, and with bonds being up, so I think that's a pretty positive. Now, as far as the market correcting this morning, S&P went down, tested the opening of the month. Now it's bounced to 60, what is it, 69.55. I think if if it in fact stabilizes, we get back above my pivot number 75, it's going to be a strong second half of the day. That's my opinion. Welcome to Train and Trade. I got something really interesting for everybody. How many people followed the discussion we had on silver when I said that all these years it couldn't get above 50 and people don't know what to do, and silver went a lot higher, right? It went to 109, 110, 114, I think, on futures. But silver took off. Everybody followed that discussion? Well, what I'm going to bring about today, yesterday I was in front of a group for about 5 minutes. I told them to buy the diamond, which is the Dow, and I gave them I think a March 6th date on it or whatever. But this morning it was going fine until the market corrected, but it will be back up, I think. I think it looks fairly okay. But let's go, if we can, to the next slide. Any trades we do today will be tracked in T-Buzz Talk and Trade. You just go to dtitrader.com/TNT. If you're not a member, then take your right hand and slap yourself in the face. Anyway, you ought to be a member of that. Here's some resources that we have. My first book, Winning the Day Trading Game, the white paper, the YouTube page. Important. You got to learn the language of the market, and that's terms to do. My penalty tape's a long time tape. How many people's listened to the penalty tape? It's a little bit out of date, but some of the things I was saying back then still apply today. It's really, I think, worth a listen. You find out how things used to be and how they are today. Option playbook. Now, Jonathan, have we closed out any trades this morning?
We have closed out a couple of trades this morning, Tom. The SPY trade that you issued for live trading with T-Buzz, we took profit on that. About
where'd that go? What program got that?
That was live trading with T-Buzz.
Live trade. Okay, good.
And Apple must be moving up a little bit. We'll check on that one. But the other trade that was closed was for Silver Wheel.
Made more money than Silver Wheel.
About a 24.
The wheel's starting to roll. Neil made 400 on a diamond trade I had. Okay, anything else?
Diamond got about halfway towards our target, but couldn't quite reach it there. So we need that.
I think you'll get another shot at it. But Neil does what I do. I'll take some off at about halfway and then play it out for the others. That's you don't have to get all out of a good trade at once, but you can put some money back in the bank when you have that kind of jump that early. That's good job. The optionplaybook.com is a book I highly recommend for people new to options. It's pretty good from that standpoint, I would tell you. I actually ordered another book, my 10th, I think, that I've had since I've been telling people about it. And the reason I did that is because I think that it's got some really good subjects in there that really explain it about as good as I've heard it explained in my career. It's called optionplaybook.com. Jonathan, take the stocks, go through the algo for us.
All right, let's get it updated. Let's see, what time is it? It is 11:13. All right, you can see the S&P and NASDAQ still same old story, right? Been screaming all week. 7,005 times number on the S&P, and the NASDAQ can't get above its year open. Same story this morning. It went right up to it on both and turned back down. Tom, you're muted if you're talking to us.
Hey, Jonathan, I can't hear you. Can you talk a little bit louder?
I can talk louder, sure can. I can turn my volume up, but I want to get feedback from everybody in the room. How do I sound compared to Tom, volume-wise? I don't want to blow out your speakers, turning myself up. Let me know. Okay, sound good, loud and clear. Okay, so I'll just talk a little louder instead of turning my volume knob up. Anyhow, the S&P and NASDAQ, they failed again, yet again, at the numbers we've been talking about all week long. Tom's 7,005 number on the S&P and the NASDAQ yearly open, which you can't quite get above. All right. Everybody understand the concept of you want all the markets working together. I know the Dow's strong, but you want all the markets, S&P, NASDAQ, Dow working together to really get a nice trend going, which the NASDAQ is proving to be the problem child right now. We got to get that NASDAQ playing along, preferably to really, ramp up our trading with some high confidence there. But the Dow is long above its 3-day high. You can see it here on this spreadsheet. Just updated 50,146. 3-day high was 49,767. So that 50,000 level is kind of, now that the Dow's pushed through that, it's acting as good support there for it. Let's see, crude oil, gold, and silver all neutral in between their 3-day high and low. Bonds are long. Bonds are long. Now that we're past the news, maybe we can fire up another anchor trade. We hit the last two on anchor. Tom unmuted himself again. I think you might have something to say here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wearing out the anchor trade. That's a good trade, and everybody ought to be doing it. And you ought to watch the master class. If you got questions, asking in here. We're here every day, so it's a good. We can explain it if you got questions about anything. And I would tell you, if you got questions about anything, asking in here. We have no admission price to be here. It just costs you if you don't show, because we usually find some way to make some money. But if you got questions, be sure to ask, and we like questions.
And I believe the link for Anchor is dtashler.com/anchor. And if you want to, I would say we're not planning the Anchor recording today. Maybe we can do that tomorrow, or you can just email me and I'll shoot your recording and find out what Anchor is. Trading bonds with TLT is what it is. As we scroll down the list, we got Diamond long, of course. Financials have turned short. Utilities are long. Biotech has turned short. Pan American Silver and Newmont, green, long. GLD, GDX, long. If GLD is long, that means gold futures got to be pretty close. Let's go back and look at that. First 3 days on gold futures was 51.13. That high must have happened during the overnight hours. The current price is 58.85. So gold's over the high there obviously happened in the overnight hours. The reason we can reason with that is because GLD, which only trades during the cash market hours, at least this data is only collected from cash market hours, it says it's long. So this high here must have happened during the cash market hours when GLD were above that. But the true high for gold for the 3 days happened during the overnight hours. See how that works? And we're not quite above that yet on gold futures. Let's go down here. We got Apple still long above 278.95, hanging on. Amazon and Google short, Microsoft short, Nvidia long above 190.30. Let's see. That kind of finishes up. The banks were long earlier. They're not long anymore. JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, Citigroup.
Hey, let me share with you what I saw in the chat room, and people make that mistake a lot. They don't put an order to exit when I give a target, and that's a good to cancel order, and it goes up, hits the price. It's a home run. Everybody's dancing in the street, so to speak. We're making money, and then all of a sudden, you look and you say, "Well, I didn't get out." Well, don't go to another trade until you get the full trade done, and then you won't have to be worried about getting even or whatever, because a lot of these trades happen at these target prices, and it's not fair to you. You took the risk, you ought to make money off of it, everybody else did. So always, put that good to cancel order in, especially if I give a target. There's sometimes that I do that. Okay. And then if you're worried about a day trade, put the trade on at the end of the day. You got on a SPY, you got 10 minutes after the market closes, you can put it on then. So you can always put it on without getting it. Okay. Anyway, that's how you have to do it to have that target in there. And remember, you can take 3 day trades a week every 5 days. All right, let's go next. What's next?
Next up would be slides for the day. The focus, you wanted to focus on the Dow.
Yeah, folks, let me tell you, I got to thinking about, and let me just give you the background. I mean, if you look at what we've done in silver, not just this year, but last year, ever since the rally started many years ago, you got to say you ought to listen to me when it comes to metals, gold and silver. I mean, I've been right on with prices, targets, and all that over the years. And I made a big deal. We even took we took time in here to talk about a market exceeding what the market exceeds. For example, when silver got above 50, that was a 40-year trend that it had never got above 50. And I said they're not going to stop. And they didn't stop until they got so overdone up at 110 or so. Then they sold off. But the Dow, let's talk about the Dow. Let me give you a little background on the Dow. You can trade the Dow through the Diamond, DIA, or you can trade it through Dow futures. You can trade the Dow futures, have a couple ways to trade it. One, of course, is the one that I've been trading for years, is $5 a point, or 100 points is $500. And so that's on the future side. But you ought to learn that. That alone, this week we paid for, if you watched the education I gave this week, the whole year was paid for by taking the Dow futures on Monday night. That was our trade of the week. And that's just an example. And if you don't think you want to trade futures, that's okay. But you learn futures to trade stocks and stock options. And I think it's good. Okay. That's what you have to do. And so let's go back to the Dow historically. From 1972, it got over 1,000. It was 10 years later when it went 50 points higher and closed on November 3rd, 1982. By the time I got involved in the market and got into business, they said, well, if it gets to 1,000, always sell it. Well, that's what the traditional thinking is, that these key numbers that the market has put out there 30 or 40 years. Well, this is like a 180-year trend we're talking about here. On March 29th, 1999, it was at 10,000. January 25th, 2017, Trump's first term, we doubled, went to 20,000. August 16th, in 2020, we went to 30,000. Think about that one. And then May 17th, with Biden was the president. But if you remember back at May, that's when the polls had Trump being almost an 80% winner. Went to 40,000 during Biden administration. February 6th, we went to 50,000. That was just recently, over 50,000. So the question you ought to ask me, Tom, do you think the Dow is going higher? Of course I think the Dow is going higher. I think it's the trade of the year now, along with silver. So we got 2 trades in areas that the general market's not used to seeing these prices. And so you're going to hear me do a lot more Dow trades like I've been doing, either through the Diamond or through the futures, because it's money. The odds are so much in our favor. And so this is the good news. So if you see me give you a Diamond or Dow trade, stay with the plan. 72 hours after I give it to you, should be making money. If not, get out and we'll go get another one. But there's a lot of money. Are y'all interested to make a bunch of money this year with the Dow? I'm just asking. You got to tell me. Are you interested? I think I am. In fact, I'm with John. He's in for a one-on-one today. This is my last one this week, but he's already made money in the diamond this morning. So, hey, what can I tell you? We're drinking. What is the water from the fire hose that's coming at you? Okay, it's good stuff. But anyway, I wanted Jonathan to see this, because this is historically another market that is set up for unbelievable opportunity. And the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have Jonathan break down the Dow stocks. I looked at J&J this morning, and that's a stock I want to get a piece of. I hadn't got it yet, but I'm going to get a piece of J&J because it's a Dow stock performing very well. In fact, Jonathan, add it to our 3-day algo. Okay.
Johnson & Johnson. I'll tell you a good website. Or go ahead, Tom.
Anyway, what were we going to say?
There's a neat website I'll share with everybody here. And Tom, I know you've seen this before. We've looked at it, but it's called slickcharts.com. I'm sure there's many like this, but somebody showed me Slick Charts. I think it was Steve Thompson, obviously several years ago, Tom, but he showed me this site, still active. But slickcharts.com, if you go to the Dow Jones, it will actually list them by market weight. I think it does that automatically, but you can sort, I think, however you like. But you can see the stocks in the Dow Jones, current stocks, by market weight. You can see Verizon has very little, if any, effect on the Dow Jones. These down here don't have much. As you get up to the top, you can see the stocks that have more and more effect on the Dow. That's called slickcharts.com. You can look at the NASDAQ that way and the S&P. For instance, NASDAQ 100. NVIDIA's got almost 14% weight, but we'll focus in on the Dow. That's slickcharts.com, and I'll post a direct link to the Dow Jones, but it's very, very easy to get there. Just click on Dow Jones once you're at the website.
John, I was telling John, I said, John, we're going to go over this after this session because I see a lot of opportunity here, and eventually I'll make it part of Train and Trade. Jonathan, you're hiding things from me. I never saw this slickcharts.com. I like it.
Yeah, it's a good little website. Good little website.
Now, I agree. I know people think sometimes he exaggerates, and he does, but I agree with President Trump. I think we got a shot to get to 100,000 by the time we get through with his term. So we got two stocks that everybody here that's listening to me and following what I'm saying is going to make a lot of money on two tickers. One is silver, and the other one is the Dow Jones. I used to be a member of that exchange. It's a little side note where I might know a little bit about trading the Dow, but anyway, that's something that we're going to do. How many people are going to be in with me on these two? Because I want to get love letter after love letter from you because it's going to pay us a bunch of money this year. That's our goal. Let's do it. Now, yesterday we focused on the 24-hour market and learning the DTI reference bar approach. I want you to write this down now. If you're not following the reference bar approach, I want you tested. I want your IQ tested. Okay? Because if you're not following the 24-hour reference bar approach to the market, you're screwing yourself. This is how you play with high odds. Learn what we teach. We give it to you. Jonathan, don't we give in white papers on this?
We do. I got a slide at the very end today with the white
perfect.
papers.
You've got to learn this. I mean, I asked some people, John's been, he thought enough of me. He wanted to be one-on-one. Jonathan, how would you rate my market time?
Max.
That's a 10, folks. That's a 10. Okay. This is what I worked on when they said you couldn't do it. I knew you could. Usually Wall Street will tell you that you can't do things. You just got that's when I pay attention because you can do it. Okay. But I'm gonna tell you, this is how I do it through the 24-hour market. There's 7 reference bars in a day. And we're gonna write up a real nice report, give it to you. I'm gonna get with Jonathan. We're gonna spend some time on it. And that report that we do is going to appear in the new edition of the Commodity Traders Almanac that I'm helping write. So we got that coming. You'll get a free copy of it first as a student of DTI. Now, if you're trading at night, you want to wait after 9. That's an insight if you're trading stocks or trading futures at night. Now, you connect RB1, RB2 opening. If you're trading above, you want to think long. If you're trading below, you want to think short. So if you go back and look at last night's open and you look at today's opening and you say, well, how are we trading? That sort of defines the playing field until you get, during that time frame coming into this morning's market. This morning, before the market opened, the cash market opened, you should have been long. That's a heck of an insight right there.
And let's look now. Let's look at it now. I updated the chart just a second ago, and we got the RB1 open at 69.71, RB2 open at 69.75, current price 69.62, so shouldn't be in it now.
Exactly. The market is correcting right now. But you know where you would get in it?
Above 75.
Yeah.
That's
Above
the first thing
75 later on today. Okay.
Above 75, above a reference
right.
bar.
Do what, Jonathan?
I was just saying above 75 and above a reference bar.
Yep. And the first real move for the U.S. market comes 10 minutes after the first half hour. Explain that to everybody, Jonathan. Go back. Oh, case in point, you did it.
Yeah, case in point. Yeah, let the first 30 minutes, let all the fighting long or short get out of the way, and then a true trend usually starts to appear, at least for the morning, up until Genesis, which is our next insight. Tom, I think one of your favorite insights you've developed over the years, the Genesis hour.
Yeah, the Genesis hour. The reason that's important, the reason we have an algorithm printed off for everybody in the Telegram channel, because it's a lot of work getting the right numbers. And because of that, you get the numbers delivered right to you in that Telegram channel. That's why Genesis is so popular. Does all the work for you. But you can see that 4 out of 5 days, like today, for example, the market came down. You would expect it to make a low and start recovering the second half of the day. Now, if it's a continuation day, those are big days. Like if it keeps going down after this hour, then it goes down and takes out that low that we made earlier this morning. That's the way you play it. Continuation days are days I live for. When I get a continuation day, that's where you take the chips and start pushing them towards the middle. That's a multiplication day. That's not a subtraction day. Now, RB4 sets the tone into the night if you use it in conjunction with the closing RB2. Again, 2 reference bars. We have a feature inside our roadmap software that does it for you. And if you take those 2 reference bars, we call it RB frame, and it frames it for you. That's why I look at it every day, because I typically trade at night. Here's the white papers. For those people who are new, read these white papers. This gives you a framework, and then ask questions, because this is so valuable to you. It helps you grow your account. Our students are growing theirs. I know. I had Joe that was in yesterday had made 100% on all the trades, Jonathan, that I'd done and gave that he took in since the first year. That's a pretty good statement. He told me two things, two rules. I'll pass these along. One rule he uses is my 72-hour rule. He gets out of if he's behind. And the other rule, he used level bets. He's a very disciplined player. He does it the way it should be done. Actually, I think he does it better than I do it because he's very precise. But it's very impressive to sit there. He showed me all the spreadsheets of what he had done. I said, "Wow, he's coming to Sawgrass, so I'll have him stand up in front of you and share how he's done since now." Level bets, right? That was Jonathan's idea. You were right, Jonathan. 72 hour Sean is for options that you put on. Options, 72 hours. All right. I committed to everybody that joined my wheel program that I would stay with them during this highly rich market environment. And I've done that every day, and I'm doing it today. You said we made a wheel trade this morning, right? That we made, correct? And I want to invite people to come and join me for the wheel because I don't, I said I might quit after 30, but with this silver so opportunistic, we got it down to an art form. I might extend it a little longer. So if you want to join the wheel, you can go to that website and join. If you want to listen to what I call a presentation about it, stay and listen. But we'll get started at 1 o'clock. So I want to get started on that presentation. I want everybody to have a great day, a great week. You got two markets that we're going to make some money with. A level bet, Grace, means that you put the same number of dollars at risk on every trade. So if you put 1,000 on one option, you do 1,000 on the next option as example. And Jonathan's typed out a better answer. Jonathan, I'm going to turn it back over to you. I'm excited about the diamond, the Dow futures, and silver. That's two that I'm really excited about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Don, I do record the silver wheel. Don Brighter, you're not from Las Vegas, are you, Don? Oh, used to know the Bright brothers out there. Anyway, y'all have a great day. John, just listen to this and let him learn and be part of the wheel.